Innovation, security, programming, technology, development.
Let's begin.
DevSecOps, your cybersecurity and technology podcast.
Hello, everyone. How are you? It's a pleasure to be here once again, for one more episode of DevSecOps Podcast. Actually, this is the episode number 152, if I'm not mistaken, which is a good thing, means that we are doing good, or we are very persistent, I would say. It's a pleasure again today because we have a very nice guest that we'll introduce in a moment. It's also very nice to say that I'm doing this episode today by myself. The guys are not here, like Benur is not here, Marcos are not here because they're on the vacations and so on. I pay them good so they don't work. That's the thing. So, guys, before starting the episode today, it's worth to mention that DevSecOps Podcast has the support from Checkmarks and Nova 8. Nova 8 is the distributor of Checkmarks in the Brazilian market and in Polish market as well. You can find their link on the website, DevSecOps.podcast.com.br, also on the YouTube, on the description of the video. Okay. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about automation, and not automation in a way that we already discussed here, like scripting, coding, and this kind of things. Yes, it's important. I'm doing it myself, but today we have a guest that will bring kind of a revolution, I would say, on this area, which is super cool because they have a very nice solution. I had the pleasure to test myself, not to buy yet, but hopefully one of the boss will release some money and I will be able to use it properly. So today we have Leor here. Leor, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Please introduce yourself. Feel free to tell where you're from, where you're going to, what you're doing, and then we start our discussion. Again, once again, thank you for your time.
Sure, and thanks for having me, Cassio. It's a real pleasure. Hi, everybody. My name is Leor Golan. I'm Director of Sales over here at Blink Operations. Blink is a security automation platform that is basically so easy that not only does it replace SOAR tools, but it also allows other teams in all areas of security to automate their workflows as well. So my background, I came from a number of startups. The last one was acquired by Palo Alto Networks and worked there for a bunch. And then now I got to Blink. Same founders as the guys who started that startup that was acquired by Palo Alto. So really interesting stuff. We're really doing some interesting stuff. And that's kind of why we're here today. I'm based out of Tel Aviv, 35 years old with two lovely kids. So pleasure and thanks for having me.
Cool. And you just mentioned that you have kids, and I would say that it's the security challenge in our lives. We need to keep secure all the time. It's what do you think it's easier, to secure the kids' life or to secure our softwares? What do you say?
Hands down, software.
It's much easier. I would say that in software development we could predict some things. With kids, it's unpredictable all the time. They are always ready to do something new.
Yeah. It's the kind of threats and attacks that have no. It's like the Joker said in that movie, right? Or they said in the Batman movie, right, where they said some people just want to see the world burn.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good analogy.
I look on my kid's face when I catch him with a crayon on the wall,
That's true. Okay, that's good, Leor. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for sparing this time to share some knowledge, of course, to talk about the Blink as well, and to bring some knowledge to our audience, which is mainly, as I said, we have developers, security people, a lot of students, people that want to start their career. So we'll be talking about a few things. But first question I would bring to you and to this conversation, I think would be around the automation itself. I'm really fan of automating like everything, especially because I was developer, so I kind of lazy. So if I could spend 20 hours to automate a 1 hour task, I would probably spend this 20 hours to automate something because I know that we will save more time on the long term. And that's the question. What do you think it's a challenge for the security teams today? It is automation itself it is to have people to work, too many things to carry. How do you see this challenge today? I mean, you have contact with
Sure.
customers and other market. How do you see this? Huh?
Sure. So, what you described in your question is something that every security practitioner does, right? They decide, is it worth it for me to spend the time into building the automation? Because you could build automation even without a platform like Blink, without SOAR tools and whatnot. You could just code it. But the question is, what's the trade-off? Is it worth spending the time? Now, a platform like Blink, and I'll talk about where Blink comes in, is lowering that threshold of how much time investment you need to make in order to build your automation. So the decision becomes much clearer. And that's our vision, right? Today, the bar for building automations, the amount of time and investment and headache that it takes to automate stuff is very high. We have the SOAR tools out there. I don't need to say all the different names of them. I'm sure your audience are aware of them, and
Hmm.
probably most of them even are using some. They had a promise of, we're going to help you automate this stuff and save you time on alerts and such, and we're going to make the world look a lot easier for you. But in the end of the day, and I sold SOAR for years, so I'm very, very familiar with how they work. I'm very familiar with my competitors and such. I sold it for years. But in the end of the day, they don't answer on the promise as well as they should. Maybe they lowered the bar from here, the threshold from here to here, but that's not enough. It's enough for the SOC, but barely, right? Within the SOC, you have people that know how to program, and outside the SOC, not as much. But even within the SOC, not everybody knows how to program, and even if you know how to program, it's still complicated to work with. So in my experience, I've seen companies, SOC teams and security teams that will use a SOAR tool, and they'll build maybe a few use cases that they actually automate end to end within a year of the license, right, that they acquire.
Hmm.
And that's a problem. That we're not getting to the utopian holy land of automation where we all want to be. And so what we need is something that's simpler to work with. Now, before I even touch on OpenAI and the
Hmm.
revolution that Gen AI has done here, that's helped move things forward, even before Gen AI, Blink specifically, we came to the market with a platform that we've already pre-coded the steps. Within Blink, you just kind of drag and drop things, and you put together the workflow you want. So, in my experience, from having sold SOAR, I have customers today that in a POC of 2, sometimes 3 weeks, they build more workflows than some of my SOAR customers built in a year of license. It's a dramatic change. Now, what does that mean? That's great for the SOC team. That's great for the incident responders. Wonderful. But suddenly now we're actually opening the door to a whole other area that previously wasn't reasonable, which is automation for the security professionals that maybe don't know how to program. That SOAR was way too complicated for them to even consider it. Right. That's also, by the way, why SOAR specifically targets SOC, because they know that there's more people that know how to program and can deal with the complexity, relatively deal with the complexity. So at Blink, our platform is not just for the SOC. Anybody and everybody under the CISO can use it. So we have, GRC teams that use the platform to do their compliance needs. We have vulnerability management teams, identity and access management, IT security, cloud security, SaaS security, really anything under the security umbrella that is the CISO can use the platform to automate their needs. So it's really interesting stuff. That's the revolution. It's simplicity, so that you can build in a few months' time a few dozen automated workflows, real easy, and the fact that it's not just for incident response. And just to give you a couple of examples, I have in Blink, for example, and
Hmm.
Cassie, you and I talked about this offline before. Our CTO, when we have to do our SOC 2 compliance or our ISO 27001 compliance, we don't have to spend the amount of time that we would have without Blink. And what I mean by that is we built a workflow that goes out, retrieves the information that we need to know. Are we meeting certain controls? Are we not? And then automatically remediates it and just updates the CTO on Slack with a very organized report. Hey, here are the things that were not met, and here are, and we've remediated them, right? So we've killed or removed the exposure of publicly exposed S3 buckets or whatnot. And so not only is it automated the checks, not only is the remediation of them automated, he has them running scheduled daily so that these checks are we no longer have a problem of having to wait till the end of the year to do SOC 2 compliance. Most of it is every day within 24 hours is compliant. So there's lots of use cases, lots of examples. That's just one in the compliance space. Really interesting stuff.
Cool. I think it's a good introduction, I would say, for the topic. And you were mentioning everything, and I was catching some parts of it. And I really remember one use case that I had. I was working as already a security engineer in a tourism company in the Brazilian market as well. And a lot of developers, they were creating EC2 virtual machines on the AWS, yeah? And they were creating exposure to the internet. We had few incidents and so on. Then what we did, because the teams, they could have the permission to create whatever they want. We couldn't block them through policies, and it would be a way out, I would say. But instead, what we did was like I created some Python scripts to consume the AWS API every minute to check if there was new EC2 exposed. If they were, I was alerted. This person was alerted on the Slack channel, for example, and then I was already changing the security groups, for example, so the machine would be accessible only through the VPN, etc., etc., etc. To me, was easy to do because I was a developer. I know how to code, to consume an API. I don't know. It took half an hour to do this to get it done. But then in the other day, oh, we could do something else. One more half an hour, one more hour. Oh, but these alerts could be better. And then becomes a software development itself. And for that specific team, I could code myself. For other teams, they didn't have developers. So then they were starting using my time, and then I became a bottleneck for the whole automation stuff. Even though they were working, but they needed to wait a lot of time to have one simple script done. And that's the one point that you touched, like with AI and all these kind of things, it becomes easier to do at these kind of things, not only for, I would say, myself, that I know how to code. And that's the second question: who would be the target to use this kind of solutions? Since we're talking about automation, so people might expect that, oh no, you need to know, to have some knowledge on scripting, on coding, and so on. And I would argue that maybe not. Yeah, how do you see this? How do you address this issue? I would say. Yeah?
Sure. Look, you have to think of it like this. When you have a no-code platform, that's the type of platform that you could that's kind of like how you label these types of technologies.
Mm-hmm.
We have others in non-security areas like Zapier and the like, but they work for they're geared to different areas of the business. So with no-code technology, first of all, it's important to understand that you still have all the ability within Blink to write Python scripts and get really, really deep down technical if there are things that we don't have within, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we like to say no code, but low code if you want to, and code if you really, really need to. So you can do all that within the platform. But getting to your question, so if you are an advanced coder like yourself, and you know how to build this stuff, you're going to get advantages in the form of, well, it's no longer scripts that you have to come back to after 6 months and dive into and understand exactly and make the tweaks that you need to. It's pre-coded steps, drag and drop. It's really simple and easy to understand. Also, it's really simple and easy to understand for coworkers, or for, once you leave your position, somebody else that wants to come and understand what's happening. So for you, and you don't have to deal with, runtime environments, dependencies. You don't have to deal with any of that. You don't have to deal with integrations. If AWS or somebody changes something in their integration, in their API, you don't have to worry about that. Blink is kind of your outsourced integration provider. We have a team, each person has a few integrations that they own, and they're responsible for making sure that they're constantly working, right? So you as a expert would, instead of being able to automate, I'm just giving an idea.
Mm-hmm.
One thing a month. With Blink, you'll be able to do 10 things a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
20 things a month, or 50 things a month. So you as a pro are going to get that much more out of your time. And the person who doesn't know how to code, doesn't know how to program, we'll say the simpler user as far as programming is concerned, maybe it's just a person in the compliance team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For them, it's building a couple of automations in a year that normally they wouldn't have been able to do at all, or they'd have to wait for someone like you, Casio, and for you to build it for them, in which case you're
Mm-hmm.
bottleneck, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, customer success of ours, we give lots of services to our customers. We actually help them build stuff. But yeah, there's the experts that end up doing a tremendous amount, and the ones who are not experts that they still get a lot of value because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do anything, or they would have to wait for someone else to do it for them.
Okay. So this I would say it's very beneficial because as not I would say it's already a challenge in the security realm that not a lot of security people know how to code, which is already a problem, I would say, especially for AppSec engineers that they should know to deal with vulnerabilities in the code and this kind of things. But still, automation, it's part of our lives nowadays. I would say not doesn't matter more or less the departments on the company, but here or there in the finance, in the HR, in the security, there's always something that can be automated to save someone's time or to save some money and this kind of things. And when it comes to security, I would say it's even more critical, because as I used to say here in the podcast as well, like we as defenders, we need to know all of our problems. The attackers they just need to know one exactly. And this kind of solution or automation, I would say, they help us with this visibility as well to cover as much as we can and to don't miss something. As you said, you need to monitor the AWS, whatever, and then they change the API. Oh, you break already. That one day that it's broken, you need to fix something. You might have an incident. You're gonna miss it. And with this kind of approach, then you make sure that okay, you will not miss it. It will be there. You will catch it. You will be alerted and so on. Because this is the thing on the security. I think people sometimes they lose this sensibility that security is critical by definition. It's security. Like it's usually I say you don't go to the car and don't put the seatbelt. And sometimes people say, it's just 1 kilometer, it's just 5 minutes. But it just take 1 second for that accident happen and you lose your life or some damage.
Most accidents happen in the last kilometer of your drive.
Exactly. There are researches about this. Exactly. And when it comes to automation, I really love to say that whatever you can do and how much you can do to save this kind of time and to make sure that we're covering everything, it's already worth a try. And Blink, as we were mentioning, and of course we already discussed offline, it's something that I really see a value on this that could benefit security teams and other areas. And the next thing I would say or I would ask, it's regarding the need of the company to such a thing, because sometimes that they might think like, okay, I don't need automation. I have people to do everything that I want, everything that I do, either manual job, either these people I have good developers, I have people scripting, I don't need this kind of solutions. What you'd say, or how is your approach to this kind of companies that we got our ass covered, let's say, we can do ourselves, and what is your approach to them? Like, no, I can do better for you. I can make your life even better. How it's gonna be?
Well, between you and me, I would say to them, good luck. but honestly, if I'm in front of a customer that's telling me like, hey, I've got it covered, I don't need automation, that's a pretty extreme position. I don't usually see that. But if someone really is adamant about that, then I would say, how many people are you paying to make sure you have all that covered? And not just that, does this mean that you have a room full of like 200 people that are all day just going through alerts and manually doing this stuff? Do you have a bunch of people that are just stuck in the code? And the way I see it, it's out of scope of what their job entails. right?
Mm-hmm.
You and other professionals should not be spending time on the I like to say the logistics or the dirty work of
Mm-hmm.
getting automation to work, right? And let
Mm-hmm.
me give an analogy here to make the point. A good analogy I like to use. Imagine a professional kitchen, right, at like a Michelin star restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
right? At the moment, because of lack of automation for companies that aren't using tools like ours, it's like, you have the morning and the afternoon, the early afternoon, where all of the chefs and sous chefs come in and they have to do a lot of the prep work, cut all the
Mm-hmm.
carrots, cut all the onions,
Mm-hmm.
do all that stuff. And so what I would say to a person like that is, you guys are spending the entire morning and early afternoon prepping, and you're dealing with that, getting ready to cook. You
Mm-hmm.
haven't even cooked yet. You spend most of your day just prepping. I want to get you to a place where you're all cooking. And with a tool like Blink, it's taking you from a sous chef that's spending most of the morning prepping to freeing you up from that. We're doing that for you. And now you can spend your time on experimenting, on the more interesting tasks, the more important tasks. What kind of menu do I want to create for tomorrow? What kind of new ingredients do I want to play with? Let me play with some stuff and see what I can do
Mm-hmm.
here, for a special menu. So it's a whole other way of working. It's taking your team that may have their head down and are doing some work that they're not so happy about. It's very tiring and frustrating, and most of the time, alerts don't really lead to anything and whatnot. And moving them to a place of, let automation handle that. Let's use your human brain and your analytical skills to work on more creative stuff, right? So that's kind of what Blink is doing to security. It's taking the the chef who's a real professional and saying, you don't need to chop carrots and do that prep work. You can now focus on the interesting stuff. It's taking the people that are not chefs. They're the junior sous chef
Mm-hmm.
that's starting. He's in a stagist. It's a stage. It's his first internship, and we're telling him, you can cook yourself too, like you can do these things too. So that's what I would say to someone who's kind of anti-automation is, you can get way more efficiency. I don't need to pitch automation efficiency and such, but your team will be much happier. They'll be working on the stuff they want to. They will be, rather than the I'm trying to think of what is that called when you have a play with the dolls, puppets, right?
Yeah. I know the word in Portuguese, but I missed in English. But yeah, kind of puppets. Yeah.
Rather than you being the puppets that are doing the work, we're going to make you the puppet master, and you decide, like, your work will move from handling these tasks and even building the automations with code to, what do I want to automate? What's the next thing in my list that I can do to automate, that from now on is going to do a lot better for the organization? Maybe from now on, I want to create an automation that every time a Google Drive folder or a Outlook, Microsoft, folder
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is shared,
Office. Mm-hmm.
is shared, that I want an approval process to go through security. Or maybe we want to give them some leeway so it'll get shared, but after 7 days, a message will be sent to the user that'll ask you, hey, do you still need this? And if they say yes, then it stays open for another 7 days. And if no, or if they don't answer, then we
Mm-hmm.
remove the share. Things like that. You just come up with these ideas of, okay, where can I add more policies? And by the way,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we see with, the security decision makers. I love to say to them, think of any policy that you want to enforce in your organization. When something happens in your company, there are security ramifications for that. And I'm sure that there is some kind of policy you would define there, right? And it's the same thing for the security practitioners, because they usually get the marching orders from their bosses, like everybody. So with Blink, you can build that out. The CISO could almost build that out himself. He wouldn't do that because he or she wouldn't do that because it's spending some time. But it's almost that simple. I'm a sales guy and I build workflows really fast and really easy. So if I can do it, I think most people can do it.
Cool. That's the, I would say it's looks very good to be true, I would say. Yeah, of course I know the solution, but I need to talk to the audience exactly like this. Looks awesome to be true, and it will get to some point. Just I need some break.
Segurança. Tecnologia. DevSecOps.
Yeah, now we had the break of our voices. Leor, I would bring another topic for our discussion, which would be something related to development, because there are a lot of possibilities, I would say, on this kind of word, and developers, they are still there. Yeah, and the whole podcast here, we have this mission kind of to help developers to build secure software, because in the end of the day, those softwares are controlling or facilitating our lives, through the payments, through the supply chain of food or whatever. And do you have some use case or whatever could be helpful or interesting to the developers itself? For example, today I have a manual slash automated task that whenever a branch on the GitHub repository, for example, they are not protected, which means someone is directly putting code to the main branch, I get a notification. And from that notification, I approach this developer like, why you did that? You had, okay, you have the permission, but what was the reason? And from this reason, I put this information in somewhere as a log, because on the auditing, the auditors will need to look into this. Yeah, there was a bypass on this specific protection. Here's the reason. Everything fine. So this is one, I would say, daily job that could connect developers, that they could do this automatically somehow, yeah, or not even do this. They bypassed, something already happened, they put justification somewhere. What use case or what examples you could bring to development, to developers itself, that they could benefit, considering security, of course? I mean, Blink is all about security, yeah, but
Sure. Yeah. Look, so first of all, the use case you explained, you can automate that in Blink, right? And you could even go a step further, right? And this is something that would be more a high level decision that the company, the organization would have to take. But you can automate that. But if you wanted to go that step further and really revolutionize how you work, and we see some customers of ours doing that, is that they say, I'm going to take a position of a bit more, zero trust style, where within the organization, I forgot how you mentioned that it started, what the user did, but instead of them having permissions to do that, okay, just openly, and that almost sounds like I'm going to say, oh, now you're going to make it hard for me to work, but just bear with me for a second. Instead of it being open just like that, within Blink, there's a self-service portal that has automated workflows that the builders of automated workflows put behind them. So the way some of our customers are changing how they work is that they're saying, wait a second, I'm not just going to give people access to do everything. I had to, because I needed them to be able to, work, speed of business, right? Speed of business versus security. But I'm going to instead remove access, and all of the things that they should be able to do in that platform, I'm going to build an automated process that includes security guardrails and processes and approvals if needed. Okay. And even if not without approvals, it's just automated, but then at least it's audited, it's documented. We know who did what and when, and they have to provide justifications maybe. And I will expose that in a self-service portal. So if a developer needs something, it doesn't matter what it is, if they want to do something or whatnot, they could go into the self-service portal. They click and I gave this example to you the other day. For example, getting access to a database, right? So that's a use case where, today they'll reach out to DevOps, and DevOps will provide that to them, once they come back from lunch or from a holiday, or once they get to it. And then they'll tell them, here's access, please don't break anything, don't touch anything. And then 2 months later, 3 months later, security finds out about it in the hallway, and they get upset because we were exposed for no reason. And, I'm glad nothing happened, because otherwise, people would have been upset here. And instead of working that way, you could build a workflow that sits within the self-service portal that the developer can access and can say, okay, I want access to, from a dropdown, the production database. I want access for 2 hours, right? And you can have justification there. Here's the reason why I need this. Run. And now DevOps doesn't even need to handle it. They can get it themselves. Like, the workflow will do it themselves, give them access, and then take down the access after the 2 hours or 6 hours, whatever they click. But more than that, and this is where it becomes really interesting with security, where we're kind of bringing both worlds together, is that Security might say, again, like I mentioned before, when something like this happens, there are security ramifications. What would I do in that scenario to make this a secure process? Well, besides just giving them access, maybe from a security perspective, we need approval. We need to approve it. So before access is given, a Teams message is sent or a Slack message is sent on a channel for security that includes all the information about what the user is requesting. So Leor is requesting access for 2 hours to the production database. Here's his justification. And at the bottom have button options: approve, don't approve, only approve for 30 minutes, ask for more information, right? And based on the button I click, it'll continue the workflow. It'll handle it for me. But even more than that, I can even do more enrichment, right? Like the step before I get that message, I can have my CrowdStrike or my Sentinel-1 or Microsoft ATP or Cortex XDR, whatever, can check, hey, does this user have an active agent on their endpoint that is active? And include that in the message. Leor, 2 hours, wants access to production database. We checked his XDR is active. Do you approve, not approve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're able to improve the speed of business, right? Developers are able to get faster what they need because those, processes that otherwise they were dependent on bottlenecks such as DevOps and others, they no longer have to wait for it. It's automated. And security can get what they want by including the guardrails that are necessary, right? And by the way, in some cases, I gave an example where there's an approval in the middle, but not always, right? Sometimes security will say, we really don't want to impede speed of business, so we'll just leave it without an approval, but we want the message to come to us anyway, or open a ticket or something, or even if it's just in Blink, it's already documented that it's been run, we'll have everything so we'll know, who did what and when for the sake of an issue if there is in the future. So there are lots of things that can be done.
Yeah, and this point that you described, it's like I see it even bringing more value, as you said. For example, okay, this guy is asking for a specific permission for something, but his machine, as you said, the agent of Sentinel-1 or whatever is disabled or not active, whatever, not collecting. So let's reject by default, send this user a message, for example, or let's try to enable already automatically this agent. And if some error, then we got like, you bring more things to the someone from the service desk would read this TikTok. Someone needs approval. Yeah, he can have access. Yes, approved. But all these checks, they are not there, or this person would do it manually. I would say, even if it's necessary. Huh?
And you know what? So this is the stuff that I love, right? This is why I'm very enthusiastic about this, because what you just went through right now was one of those scenarios where, like, oh, here's how I would do it. And you came up with ideas, right? I didn't give that an example. It's a great idea. And let me share kind of my knowledge about Blink, about how I take what you just did and add it to the mix. Now, if there's a scenario, and I would add this in Blink, if, before sending the Teams message, if the agent, if the CrowdStrike is inactive, then I'm going to put an if there that runs my deploy CrowdStrike agent to this user, right? So I will build a totally separate workflow, which I'll use for whenever I want to deploy, a CrowdStrike agent. And now I'm going to include it. I'm going to put this workflow within the workflow so that before even sending me a message, how about have Blink try at least to deploy the agent? And if it succeeds, then I'll get the message and it'll show it's active and give them permission. And if not, then I can even have the message say it's inactive, their agent, and we've tried and we've failed to add it, which is another I should go and fix this now. like I just discovered that I have a user in my environment that for some reason I can't get my EDR active on them, which is a problem. So yeah, and the beauty of it is, so Blink is trying to give you a tool that is as fast as your creativity. So if you have a creative idea, if you have an idea of what my process should look like, it should be just as easy to go in Blink, drag and drop that into place, and now it's going to be done like that. Before, we weren't able to do that because to do that meant I have to spend 30 minutes
Hmm.
or a few hours writing code and figuring it all out, as opposed to just dragging and dropping, clicking play, on that specific step just to make sure it works. Great, wonderful, publish, done.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, for example, just coming back to the topic that I brought with this question, we're using Slack in our company today. And for example, when I got this notification from this bypass on the branch protection, I need to talk to this developer. So every time it's someone that I need to, hey, hello, you did this on this repository, why? More or less the same message. So I created, because Slack has also some workflows. So there was some workflow that I put the username, the repo URL, and who to contact. I put these three parameters, hit play, and he will get a specific message already that he need to reply to me regarding the action that he did. So small things that save my time to search for this guy name, send a message, wait for a reply, and so on. Because on this automatic message is already there. You have this SLA. If you don't contact me, then I hit play again. It already escalates. So it's small things, but what's the problem? I cannot connect the Slack workflow with the alerts that I get. So I still need to act myself there. If I have 1 million alerts, I need to hit 1 million buttons.
Yeah.
It could be already linked everything and do it for me automatically. So it's small things that when we see the whole company and we imagine a company, let's say 2,000 people, if everybody has already just one small task that they need to do like this every day, it's already saving a lot of time. And as you said, you're discussing something that ideas come up, and you use this very good, like, Blink is as fast as your creativity is. So if you have time to be creative, you will be also having time to improve your process itself. Yeah, not only executing what you're doing already, but I could do this, I could do that, could be better like this, better like that. And the limit is, as you said, the limit is your creativity. Yeah, to bring also. Then we come to the close of of the topic. Yeah, because the main topic is security. We want to be secure. We want to make sure that things are there, running, checking, in place, alerting, whatever. And with this kind of enablers, I would say, or enablement, then you finally be able to have everything in place. I love to say about the analogy about car, for example. You are driving your car. You don't need to stop every 5 minutes to check the tires or to check the engine, or you have the dashboard who is telling you the speed you are, how much fuel you have, how much rotations per minute your engine, whatever, temperature, etc., etc., etc. So you don't need to manually check this. If you have a problem, you get an alert, then you go to a specialist and check something. It's exactly this, as security should be. Yeah? You have your, let's say, dashboard or whatever, and you get informations when you have a problem, if you have a problem, or informations, alerts, or let's say. So that's the beauty of security, and I love to bring this topic always to the audience. Like, guys, again, we as defenders, we need to know all our problems. Attackers just need to know one. So the more benefits we can get, the more we can enrich our security strategy. I would say it's worth. Yeah, please do it with Blink, whatever scripting, but
Whatever, yeah.
yeah, but have this mindset of this bringing automation that will be helpful for you. Now, one last topic, because I know time is money. Still is not automated process to record the podcast, so we need to talk for some minutes. Leor, what do you think it's a good approach for the companies itself? Like, usually I say that if you try to automate everything, it can be a problem. But this problem is regarding you don't have someone to do this, or you not escalate this. Yeah, you're gonna have a problem. But it seems that with Blink, this idea that I have, it's already gone. Like, you can actually automate everything. Is that true?
Look, so you can't automate everything, right? There are limits at the end of the day. Like with SOC 2, for example, we're not able to check if there's a keypad on the front door of the office that you have to swipe your card, right? We can't do use cases like that. Unless maybe one day that company creates an API, in which case we can check
Yeah.
but there are limits to the platform. What I say to my customers and how our customers usually use the platform is, they first of all, will still like to be in the loop of things, right? You could do automation which is fully autonomous and runs by itself unsupervised. I wouldn't recommend it. It's something that most customers don't do. So they'll have a Teams message come to them or a Slack message or whatnot, or a ticket will be opened in ServiceNow or Jira whenever something happens so that they can take the action. But the idea is, let's keep the human brain in the process, and all the other stuff, the bringing it to them and the execution or the remediation afterwards, let's automate that. So we'll give you button options that you click and decide what happens. And then, it'll go out and get more information, come back to you and say, here's what we found. We did the difficult work for you, the time consuming work. How would you like to proceed? So that's one thing I wanted to mention, because that's something I've seen with our customers. Another thing is, it's quite a simple process usually that we go through with our customers. We'll make a list and we'll always ask them, what are there are three areas specifically. What are the most annoying tasks that you're dealing with in your day to day? Make a list of those. What are the tasks that are taking up the most time in your day to day? And what are the tasks that happen that are recurring very much, right? So those three pillars, they'll come up with a list of their top 10, and then we'll start to work on those. Let's automate those. Once we finish that, build a list of the next 10, right? And so we kind of chip away at this tree that we're trying to chop down, which is overload of work. And what's interesting is you see how over time the customers start to say, I am free suddenly to do this, and this, and now I can forget 10. Let's make the next list of 20 because I have more time. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting. But yeah.
Cool. And one last thing, just to finalize, there is a co-pilot as well, right? Like I can just chat basically, and automation will be done, right?
Yeah. So this is obviously with OpenAI. It came out. We, like every other vendor out there,
Everybody's doing it. Yeah.
they added their layer of Copilot. We have what's called Blink Copilot, which takes OpenAI and some of the others, in the market, throws up on top some IP of ours and some training. And basically, when you come into Blink and you want to build a workflow, and this is why you can really say with Blink, it's no code for those that need it to be. You just free text explain the process you want to automate. You click generate workflow, and it creates the workflow for you. Now, it'll be like 85, 90% of the way there, right? Because it hallucinates, which is bad and good, right? Because sometimes it'll miss some things, but it'll also add things that you didn't think of. And you're like, wow, that's a good idea for how this process should look. But then you drag and drop and just do the last final tweaks in that easy, user-friendly manner. But it's a great tool. I build workflows all the time with it when I'm doing demos for customers, when I'm in a conference. It's really interesting to see the results.
I would say that it's the automation of automating.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Cool. The guys automated the process of automating something. It's really nice.
There are Microsoft Copilot, and there are Copilots out there whose job is to be more of a query engine for what's going on in your environment, which is one way of doing things.
Yeah.
Trying to get that complicated and give you kind of, we have some secret sauce for how we do this stuff. Copilot with us is strictly a platform. It's strictly a tool to help you build the workflows. So it just helps you kind of save extra time on how you automate. Like you said, it helps you automate the automating.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. We are 1 minute of the time, so I don't want to have a long shot. So just thank you, Leor, for the time. You want to add something more? You want to say something more? You want to give some tips? I'm already trying to find my credit card to buy, but still, I'll try to take from my CISO. So you want to add something more? You want to recommend something or?
Well, for the users, for the folks out there, I would just say in general, and it's just reiterating what you mentioned before, automation is super important. It helps you save a lot of time, and I've seen a number of people that have jumped in the organization specifically because of, this additional layer of security that they've been able to provide the organization. So even if it's not with Blink, I recommend you guys to look into it. It's super important. And if you decide that, wow, this sounds interesting, Blink could be a game changer for us, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to us. Our website is blinkops.com. We are happy to have a conversation and discuss.
Cool. It will be, all those links will be also on the description of this episode on the website, DevSecOps.podcast.com.br, also on the YouTube description of the video. And just one more use case to the end so we can finalize. I just wrote a book, which is it's in Portuguese. Sorry for the folks in English. It will be an English version soon, but it was like open written. So people on the internet, they were giving topics. So I was writing the book. So during the production, they could have access to the book before even the release of the book. Now it's released, it's on Amazon and so on. But basically, whoever was buying the book during the production, as you mentioned, Zapier, for example, I was using Zapier. So whenever I have a payment on the Stripe account, then it was an automation process already to get this person email and add to the Google Docs sharing. So they could have access to the book, to the document. Yeah? I could not have this manually. I have 100 emails, then one by one adding to the. So even to the life stuff, I would say automation is necessary. Either if you are selling something or doing something, whenever you think that you can save time or spare time, I think it's worth a try. So again, Leor, thank you for your time. Thank you for talking about Blink and the whole idea of automation. And you are doing a very good job in the company in general. I would say it's a very nice solution. Maybe you have open source or free version for someone, but maybe for another topic. Guys, we see each other next week on the next episode. Hopefully the folks that I'm paying very good to record with me, they will be back. I know some of them are in vacations in Brazil, Europe, whatever. So stay safe. Leor, again, one more time, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Garcia. Take
See
care.
you guys. Bye.
That was DevSecOps, your cybersecurity and technology podcast. DevSecOps, finishing now.